Oh, we're on. We're recording. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the movie ranking. My name is Skadooosch. No one's parents are that much of a bunch of pricks. So it's not really Skadooosch, but for now it is. My co-host tonight is the one and only Fahad. Say hello, Fahad.
Hey everyone.
Hello, everyone. Right, we're going to talk tonight about reaction to episodes 3 and 4 from Shogun, which if anyone has been following my particular Twitter feed, it's going well. So it's going very well. It's going very well.
Before we
Is
start, before we
yeah,
start, I got to do something because I've been
yeah.
waiting to do this for almost two years now. Ooh, look at me! I got a YouTube channel.
Oh no!
Uh,
Look at me! I'm on
uh,
I'm on video.
Fucking took me 3 years for
Yeah,
people to convince me to get a YouTube channel. I'm
yeah.
so glad you're finally doing this, man.
Me too, man. It's been a that Mob Deep what's it called? The Learning Burn.
Hmm.
It's been that has been kind of going around and around my head because it's been a day-to-day adventure in terms of knowing what microphones you need, what um uh, audio, what camera stuff, like what video editing platforms, everything. It's a bit of a
Wasn't it fun though? I mean, you're
once you're there,
trying to
that's it.
realize there are so many products out there, and you can't actually pick any one one of them.
Exactly. And now every time I go to YouTube, though, everything is targeted adverts, which is I got to admit, being of a certain age as we are, like my first reaction to targeted ads was like, how dare you get away, how dare you know what I'm thinking, what I want, how dare you. And now, I mean, it's really quite nice because it actually helped me find all the stuff I needed. So
Yeah, no, I'm still that old fucking person, Skadoosh. I still hate that shit. I can't.
cling on, cling on to that analog
I
bug.
have, yeah, YouTube Premium, whatever, so I don't see any targeted ads.
Oh, you
And,
bastard.
I try to stay away from all those algorithms.
It's wise. It's
But
wise, brother.
hey, we're
Hey,
talking
but
now, and there's Alexa listening in the back, so there's really no escaping from it.
I guess it depends, like, doesn't it, where you're prepared to draw the line, or if you're prepared to draw one at all. Really, I think when the world's going to hell in a hand fucking basket, I don't know. There's only what's the phrase? There's only a finite amount of fucks you can give, and I guess you really have to, yeah, pick them
Yeah,
carefully,
I
especially
mean,
in this
right
day and
now I'm
age.
at zero, so
Exactly. Right. We are going to talk Shogun, but before we do that, this I wasn't very well. I haven't been very well the last couple of days
I
with
know.
a bit of an illness which has been flushing its way through me. And we'll leave it there. Don't want to disgust people too
Flushing is
early
a good
on.
word, I think.
Yeah, that's a cleanse. I'm now cleansed. However, just on the way to work, I saw the Crow trailer landed. Had a quick watch whilst I was kind of pootling around, and after about 30 seconds, I actually sat down and started to watch it in more detail because I was getting more and more troubled. And I spoke to this about with a few people in the movie ranking space that we do on Twitter. We spoke about generally a bit of kind of cautious like optimism around the Crow um, coming out. And for you, is it one of those movies that's like part of your heart and soul, your part of your teenage identity, or is it more a case of, oh, that was a cool movie I saw a few years ago?
Mm, that movie did not have as much impact on me as it did on you. And the
Fair.
first time I saw the trailer, the first thing I thought of was, "Oh my God, Skadoosh is gonna hate this." Uh, that was my first reaction because it felt more emo than goth, and I don't even know if the kids can tell the difference anymore. But it was not something that would kind of get a react. That dark, gritty
Mm.
original how it was. I mean, it's kind of like uh, washed out, I would say, in the new one.
Paler, certainly. I think Now, I can understand. Okay, just to address a couple of things there, though. Yes, it really is part. It's part. There's a certain generation of people um, who I think that was their comfort movie. But not only that, it was more a part of their actual. I guess if you saw that movie when you were a teenager and you loved it and you fell in love with it, you loved it to the core because it was alternative. It was grungy. It was grimy. It was very. I mean, it had action. It was funny. It was dark. It was scary. It had some of the best villains of all time. But more than that, like as you said there about the kids, whether they recognize the difference between emo and goth at the time, I genuinely think subculture like that we don't have so much anymore. And maybe
Dude,
that's because things are online. Because
I
when we were kids,
you're
like
right.
if you were a goth or an emo kid, you shopped at a certain store, you wore certain clothes, you listened to certain music. When you went out, you identified as maybe as an alternative lifestyle. And that's really important when you're growing up, when
Yeah.
you're 9, 10, all the way up to through your teens. That's really important. It's a core part of you. Now, I don't think there are those kind of real
I
textured
mean,
subcultures anymore.
growing up in New York City, like in the
Mm,
90s and 2000s, you see that very often. Like even in your high schools, there were, kids who kind of dressed up as goth kids and everything. I think I even
mm.
tweeted about it like last year, like where did all the goth people go?
It-
Like there's barely any subcultures that you're talking about anymore,
we had
Uh,
in
you
my
know,
little town, yeah, in my little town there was two, but at least there were two. You were either a townie, which meant you kind of wore jeans and preppy clothes, like collared shirts,
yeah.
um, and baseball caps, which has come back, ugh, or you were a skater or a goth, and that was basically it. But like I said,
Hey,
you were really something then.
those are the kids that your Indian mom would look at and say, "Hey, at least my kid is not God." I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being God, but
Yeah.
from an Indian perspective, that kind of worked out for me. Like, hey, I'm the good one. But I understand, like, that's the subculture that I think we're kind of pretty much lost. And again, when you talked about the generational thing, right? Like, you have to realize that this particular movie, I mean, as much as we love the old one, I don't think every generation kind of has their own little thing going on, and I think um, this is for them. And
Sure.
a lot of times you got to stick with the original and love the fact that it was there for us.
Mhm.
But the generation change. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how many people actually had any exposure or watched the old movie or
Yeah,
had that same amount of impact that it did on you.
it's uh, it's interesting. It's an interesting experiment. Like I would love to. Okay, I was about to say I'd love to get a group of teenagers in a room, but
Yeah,
that's
let's
no way
not.
to start any
Yeah,
sentence. No way ever.
you just
I
started
would
a
be
podcast
interested.
and you already started start a controversy.
Yeah, I mean, getting blocked that early is probably a bad start, isn't it? But no, I would be intrigued to see what their relationship might be if they would fall in love with it. I can understand perhaps maybe it doesn't date well. Mm, I don't know. A part of me feel that it does because I watched the trailer for the original again today, and
Hmm.
everything's there. Like everything's there. And I watched it again, like I said, a few months ago, and I can remember every word. Yeah, the kind of the romantic, soppy, wanky kind of stuff. It didn't hit for me, obviously, the same as when you're a teenage boy. but but all the action, all the lines, the villains, there's a tone about the Crow, and it's a certain tone, and it's
That is
goth.
exactly what it is.
And it's the
It's
outfit,
missing. Yep.
yeah, and it's the soundtrack. It's a lot of it, like those soundtracks, and I'll come on to the sequel movies as well because I think even fans of The Crow are like I thought The Crow 2, City of Angels. I mean, it had Iggy Pop in it, but and it was shit. but it still felt like yes, part of the same beast, if that makes any sense. It felt like it was still part of the same story. And the third
Yeah,
one,
it was
again,
sort of in that exact universe, right? So
mm,
the theme and the tone, even though if the movie was shit, that everything kind of matched and blended in together. It's not the same
mm,
for this one. I mean, I think
completely different tone. Yeah.
somebody mentioned. I saw some comments on YouTube. Somebody said the Skarsgård looks like Machine Gun Kelly, dressed as that Florida guy.
Dude, I can't now unsee that. I can't unsee that in my head. He absolutely does. And on the Bill Skarsgård point, I think it's key to note that when going into the Crow, the new one, the trailer landing, when I first heard they were doing it, I thought, "Oh, just leave it." But there's still a tiny part of my brain which was like, "Oh, I wonder if they'll do something interesting." And that's the difference. Is I'm not saying this movie shouldn't be made. I'm not saying they're not allowed to do anything with the original Crow. I'm not precious about the Crow. I even, like I said, have no problems with the second and third movies. It just feels like uh, this isn't a conversation about Brandon Lee versus Bill Skarsgård either. There is room in this world for both. But if
Right.
you take out the elements which make something it, and you call it the Crow, you've called it the Crow, and you've given Bill Skarsgård, Eric Draven, and FKA Twigs is Shelley, and it's all the same characters. And yes, I know technically it may not be a remake, but I mean, guys, we're running the same story here. It just seems that the thing that struck me about this was I didn't even have a problem with no makeup. I like the coat. I like the outfits.
Yeah.
He looks cool as fuck. But the tone that I got off of that trailer was
To
bleached out
me,
John Wick, new
right.
age twaddle with none of the elements that I love so much about the original Crow. And it's fine. It's fine.
And I don't know how people differentiate, because for me, if it looks like a remake, then it is a remake. I mean, you can call it a reimagination if you want, but you have the stories the same, the characters the same, but now you just, like washed it out, like you said, bleached out John Wick, and you put in a really bad soundtrack along with it. So,
Someone made the point. Someone said it much better than I did on Twitter in my replies, and I'll look it up, and I'll when I post this, I'll link them in it. I said it's the villains. It wasn't so much. I mean, Brandon Lee was Brandon Lee. What happened. He was the son of who is the son
yeah.
of Bruce Lee, just in
Hmm.
case anyone doesn't know. But yeah, he's the son of Bruce Lee. Was the son of Bruce Lee. He tragically died
Yeah.
making the movie. And I've lost my train of thought. Where were we? What were we talking
We're
about?
talking about music
Oh,
and the
the
comment
thing,
that you got in your,
that made the first one so great is Michael Wincott as the villain with his twisted sister, and they are incredible villains. I would put the villains from RoboCop up against the villains from The Crow any day, and that's for me, that's saying something. They were quirky and weird and slimy, and
yeah.
they had personalities. They had personalities from this trailer, and again, I know it's only a trailer, but from this trailer, none of that was there. None of the evil little glints in the eye, the knives, and the sleaziness. Like this is something
I
different.
mean, that's the curse of the remakes, though, right? Because
And
what you do is you have seen that movie so many times, even if though you're trying to not kind of technically remake it, but you are sort of, going to the original content. And what you do now is you take that and you take it through the filter of the times that we're in, the culture, and what is more absorbable to the new people. And when you run it through that filter, it's not going to, it's going to lose all that, well, what it had accomplished in the past. And
there's a reason why they called it The Crow. Like it's
Yeah.
it's IP, and it sits at the heart of, I think, a genuine issue that most people have at the moment. And maybe this is different from generation to generation, but it feels to me at the moment that there is a weariness, a saturation point that we've hit in terms of just the recycling of IP and the cynicalness. And we've
I
seen it done
totally
with
agree with that.
everything. We've seen it done with everything. And the thing is, I hate to do what's that expression? First they came for the so and so, and I said nothing, and then they came for the
Right.
so and so, and I said nothing. It felt like that with like I didn't really have much to say when they were remaking things, and I was probably on the side of the fence. The people are on the other side now, saying, "Oh, just let them try, let them see. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe we'll see." Until they came for my thing, then it's my thing. You came for my thing, and that's when I know that I'm not getting what I need, because I watched it and I hoped it'd be good, and it wasn't. I didn't get
Yeah.
what I wanted. It's
This is
not the
why
right.
it's one of those things that, you have seen, like, why is this guy so mad about this remake? It looks okay. But now you kind of understand what that
Feeling.
guy was feeling, because, the the type of emotions that you had, for the original, now you see that all going away, because that feeling that you had, a person who's a teenager now, who when they're gonna watch it, they're not gonna feel the same way anymore. Or maybe they
Well,
will, we don't know.
I hope they check out.
Yeah,
I hope people go and see it. I hope it does well in the box office, because any movie getting made, more or less, any movie getting made is a good thing. Art being made, even bad art, is a good thing. But most of all, I hope that I'd be really interested to know of younger cinema goers and film lovers who go and see this and then go and watch the original. I'd be really intrigued as to what they felt the difference was and how both land for them. That's for another day. For today, we need to move on. We need to get onto the main event. Episodes
absolutely.
3 and episodes 4. Myself and Kyle did the original reaction to episodes 1 and 2. That went very well. This, I
That was a
mean,
great episode.
but the first 2 episodes of Shogun were, as we said, I think at the time, they were prestige. They were everything I was crying out for in television, and in terms of what I wanted from it. Complete opposite, let's just say, to what we were talking about previously. What I want to say so far is, moving on to 3 and 4, in what is a 10-part miniseries, and they're just
Right.
cutting it off at the
It's
end and not
gone.
going to
It's
do another.
done. There's no
Love
second
that.
season.
Love that.
And
Absolutely
yeah,
love that.
it's perfect. Yeah. Don't try to
What
milk
is
it. It's perfect.
exactly what is impressing you, Fahad, at the moment? What's impressing you the most about it so far after getting to the end of episode 4?
All right. Before I get to the episode 4, just want to kind of preface it by saying, like, hey, I did not read the book, and I
Mm,
did not watch the miniseries from the 80s.
mhm,
I think you talked about, finding those VHS in your basement and, watching them, going through them. I
mm,
did not do that, which I think kind of worked out in my favor, because now, if I'm thinking about it, like, not knowing the story, for me, it's actually quite exciting, because, every episode is a cliffhanger, everything, you know, and I mean, I've always been a fan of not freaking binging everything at once. I love the
mm,
idea of, waiting for an episode. I don't know, maybe
yeah.
it's the old school thing. But freaking binging a very exciting
Mm,
series in 10 episodes in 10 hours has never been my thing. Not that I don't do that. I still I do binge now
sure.
when I have the
W-
opportunity. But
There's a
things
very
like, yeah, I mean,
sorry, mate.
the last show that I kind of I think sort of binged at was, what was that show? Uh, Lovecraft Country. Dude,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
still I consider it one of the best shows ever, and one of the best ones, at least from HBO, and their fucking boneheaded decision to actually cancel it. Um, but I guess in hindsight, with with the actor and everything, I guess not
Mm,
too bad.
mm.
But going back to Shogun, I don't know if you did you ever get a chance to play Ghost of Tsushima?
No, and that's so my
Okay.
jam. That's the Hideo. I- it's the computer
No,
game
is it?
kind
Yeah,
of
is it?
world.
Yeah, it's. I don't know who the creator of the game is, but I have played that game at least two, three times, or like from front to end, and just
Mm,
the respect that they gave to the Japanese culture, because
mm,
that game is based in like 1274 or something like that during the
yeah,
Mongolian conflict with the Japanese, and this one I think 400 years later, when I shouldn't say you guys, the British,
that's fair.
um, yeah, went in
I am what I am.
as you guys did for all the countries. But anyway,
Or as James Acaster eloquently puts it, got in a big old boat and robbed, and you'll love this, everyone in the world. Yeah,
so
or
the
colonialism.
the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the thing I really admire and I love is the amount of detail they add
Mm,
into every little scene. Like Skadoosh, you know me, like, every time I see something like a perfect image on my screen, I like
yeah,
taking like pictures of it and shit because
yeah.
it's artwork. It's a
Hmm,
masterpiece.
hmm.
And if you see this one, you see basically every shot of this can be screenshotted into something
Yeah.
because the level of detail that they put into each and everything. I don't know if you I don't even know if you guys get Hulu, but Hulu has this behind the scenes thing with this.
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah, it's the first time in a long time I've gone onto the microsite. Do you know what I mean? Of a show.
yeah,
Otherwise, I just look it up through the normal channels. There is a great website on FX for sure, and it's got all of the stuff. And I started going back through the who each character is, and
yeah,
all of the individual the galleries and how they made it, and the attention to detail, like you said, and we'll come on to it. But um, Hiro Sanada, who plays Toranaga,
yeah.
um,
Also the producer.
is bringing that, and I think he said it was very important, and I think they made a great decision in terms of giving him
Yeah,
some creative control to keep that attention to detail that, as you say,
yeah.
which creates these perfect vistas and pictures.
He is a legend in Japan. He's
Mm,
producing the show. And I think the level of respect he garners from the cast and crew of that show, I don't think would have been possible if it was someone else kind of taking the reins. And especially, I think with him being one of the greatest for their country,
mm,
him taking the reins and paying so much attention to detail. They have three people, I think, who are just like cultural experts from
yeah.
those times.
Mm,
And you look at all the different costumes, the production design, every little detail. I've paused that show so many times just to look at
yes.
the little details. And
Yeah.
with me playing Ghost of Tsushima and being so well versed into each of those shots there, because that show it's not just a great game; it's also very therapeutic. Like
Mm.
right in the middle of all the action, just like the show, like in the middle of the action, you'll go and you'll meditate and you create a haiku, and then you go back to into
Oh,
freaking um,
amazing! I didn't know you got to do
killing the
haiku.
Mongolians.
You get to do
Yeah,
like calligraphy and all of that stuff.
no, not the calligraphy, but you get to pick out the little things and the words, and it generates a haiku for you. But the whole serene environment and everything,
Yeah.
which this one
Vibes.
also. Yeah, the vibes, dude. Um,
That's it. There's something about Japan and something about Asian culture where there's, as the word you used there was perfect, serenity. There is
yeah,
something about perhaps their relationship with their own environment, and the way their culture has grown, and and how it's been impacted as we get into with this story, with the real life events of big kind of European superpowers crashing into them at the same time that they've come off of incredible wars in their local areas. Whatever it is, there's something about stillness and the vibe. Like, I think the main thing for me about after the first two episodes, and definitely after the third one, was like I was kind of breathless, but also just a like thread, like they kind of thread that needle of giving you the big feels, the huge feels, and also the very small interactions, minor characters, comic beats, like the way they've constructed the show and how they got it, and it clips along at one hell of a pace, doesn't it? Because episodes 1 and 2, we've already established the backstory, established the stakes in terms of Toranaga versus the other four lords. This is now a civil war, and then on episode 3, they could have just taken a beat, taken some time to maybe go into a few rooms and speak to some characters and give us but no, bang, we're off. He's off. Episode 3, let's get to it. The escape. There's no one going to do anything. There's no one going to step in. Fine. A woman's privacy. Her boudoir. Who are you, sir? Looking in a woman's boudoir. Huh?
Before we even get into that, right? I love that there's the Toranaga character. He's a lord, he commands all the respect, and everybody just, either loves him or, hates him for who he is. But dude is fucking sneaky. I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, he knows how. I mean, he knows how to navigate around. I mean, it's not like I gotta get on this horse because I am this guy. He knows if I want to be somebody, if I want to be a quote unquote shogun at some point in time, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. If I have to hide under a freaking carriage, I will do that.
we'll get to. I mean, the sneakiness. It's very, very sneaky. Very sneaky, sir.
Very sneaky.
Very, very sneaky. That aside, I think we'll get to the eightfold fence and that concept, and that being the title of episode 4, which I thought did a beautiful job of introducing, I think, what people perhaps recognize about Japanese culture but don't truly understand, because there's so many layers to it. But the idea of being removed, you put one layer in front of the world, in front of you, and then another, and another, and another. So in fact, what people are seeing, what we are seeing and hearing, is I think it's an impressive trick to pull off, whereby we know that what no one is saying is sincere. We know that there is something else behind it. We know, we can see it, or everything is designed. When Toranaga, a perfect example in the first few episodes, when Toranaga, one of his soldiers, stands up and insults Ashida, and it's that loss of control, which I think perhaps we in the West, we identify, or perhaps we articulate that in the story as being more of a heroic or positive quality. Whereas in Japanese culture, losing your temper, losing your emotion, being wild, disrespectful, that is the worst thing you can do. That is, and with very dire consequences. But I think
we have to, at some point in time, talk about all the different moral conundrums that a guy watching in 2024 goes through, where, as you mentioned, you would find that somebody insulting your lord and you speaking out for him might be heroic, but not there. Something really bad happens to you and your family line when you cross it, and then you have this guy who is sort of okay with him cutting everything off, but you still have respect for him as a viewer. Like, as the audience, I feel like we are going through so many different emotions into kind of figuring out like what side am I really on? Like, what's going on?
It's the things. Our education kind of comes through Cosmo Jarvis, doesn't it, and John Blackthorne. And as I think there are elements of him as an Englishman, he kind of does inhabit all of those things that perhaps are the stereotype of Western men, which
Yeah,
is brash, loud, rude, all of these things, unable to control their emotions, all those sorts of things. And I
and
think
Blackthorn is sort of us in this instance
exactly,
because
we're
is our
as he's
perspective on it.
seeing exactly as he's seeing a different culture where stakes are higher, where no one says what they mean, but the worst thing you can do is to appear to be reckless, is to appear to lose your control. It speaks badly of you and speaks badly of your family. And that's
Right.
maybe the other major twist, is because there have been a number of times when dear John has talked of his wonderful London, and I must be honest, he's been rather negative, I would say, in the way he described it. There are slattons and trollops around every corner. It is a shithole. It is grimy and dirty. And that's interesting because he's quite honest, brutally honest, really, about the type of place that he comes from.
Exactly.
And London then was that. It was dirty, grimy, riddled with crime. I mean, not a million miles. But the difference in Japan is that, I mean, obviously they have the same elements of society, all the same elements, just a very different approach. And as I think we said this last time, though, one of the key things that I love about the character and the way the story is constructed is that we start to see, as he peers deeper into the culture, he falls in love and sees the benefit behind having a system of etiquette and all of these little things, like the things that he's falling
Yeah.
in love with, we're falling in love with too.
Yeah, and it's a step-by-step progress into him
Mm.
trying to get an understanding of the culture as we are, and that's what's beautiful about it. A lot of, we have had like, that the new Martin Scorsese movie, like basically you're time traveling, right? You're time traveling into a different
Yeah.
world, and that's what the period dramas and movies are supposed to do. But this one, this one, it's not just that, you're viewing it as an audience. Ex- because of the authenticity of all of it, you're actually experiencing it.
Mm.
Like
You're
you
feeling
really,
it. You can
yeah,
hear the rain
exactly.
and you can
You're
smell the
really
rain
getting to
coming. Yeah.
yeah, and how beautiful that everything looks there. Like, with the different weather
Mm.
changes and everything. Like I said, there hasn't been like a single sort of not easy on the eyes moment so far in the show. But
Oh, and
what was I
apart
saying
from
before?
the man being boiled
Yeah.
alive.
Oh yeah, let's not even. Oh man, you had to remind me of
Yeah,
that.
sorry,
You
I
had
didn't mean
to,
to pop
right?
that back into
Oh
your
my,
head. But
dude, it wasn't the man for me. Like we have seen a whole lot of fucking gross gore TV shows and everything. It wasn't
mm,
the man for me. It was the little child who had her ears kind of held up because she didn't want to hear the screams. That 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 fucking got me, dude. That got me.
yeah, yeah. It in terms of those elements, as we were talking about with the crow,
Yeah.
the things that make up a piece of art's identity is really important. Um, but also, I mean, as we've gone on, we've talked about it there in terms of the feel of it, the characters, the attention to detail. Everything feels authentic, but everything feels prestige. I think because as we found with uh, I think all of the episodes, all of the individual episodes, and as you said at the start, they've got a little bit of everything, but they are doing everything perfectly. So even so, Carl and I talked about the ship scenes when in the first episode when he takes the pilot and the feel of that. So the action sequences, the transitions,
Yeah.
the set
Th-
pieces on this are
They
excellent.
They sneaked in a little bit of comedy in there too.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
Oh
it in the
no.
4th episode.
Well, I mean, what we need to talk about Taro, because the purpose of episode 3
Oh, yes.
was I thought beautiful, was move us along, get Toranaga out of where he is now and get him somewhere else. To do that, they do the ruse, and then they go off into the forest where they are ambushed. And what I loved about that sequence was I had to pay attention. And as you say, the detail is how you know you're really engaged and loving something. Is you're looking and pausing and going back and going, oh that makes sense now, because those soldiers aren't with them, they're with them, and they're now chasing
Right.
them. And it was absolute chaos in the moment. But what I loved was that I felt in the same way with anything like Game of Thrones or with those battle sequences and things, you can let it wash over you on the first watch, because you're like, I know I'm going back. I know I'm going back to watch this again, so I can pick up all the other little details as it goes along. But the most important thing is how it delivers on that exhilarating action. It's got all, there are no cracks yet so far in anything with this show.
Talking about that scene with Buntaro, right? As you talked about
Dude, don't
layers.
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, as you talk about layers, like the character of Mariko, you see her, you know, what her husband is doing in the back there while they're escaping. And she still has to put on those layers that you're talking about because, you know, she
But
is
do
the
you
wife
feel,
of
do you feel, well, that
Hey,
was the
don't
thing,
drop
was
that mic.
I
Don't drop
literally
that mic.
I literally dropped the mic on you, but in the worst way possible. That grayness of between, obviously, her losing Buntaro, although I must point out we never see a body, where when do kind
You
of
got a point
exits,
there. I thought about that
and
too.
up to that point,
Yeah.
he was doing pretty fucking well. I mean, he went through
I
everyone
mean,
like a
he
knife through
was
butter.
almost out of there up to that point.
Yeah, but again, I love that, because it's not, the show isn't afraid to do the obvious beats, like the real, maybe the cheesy beats, but exactly, Buntaro standing on the dock and knowing he's got certain death behind him, and Hiro and Tanaka standing up and respect, and it's like, oh, it gets you right there. It's not complicated, it's not clever, but it's beautifully done. They're not scared to go there with that stuff.
Yeah,
But
and that's
sorry,
what I was
going
saying.
back
Like,
to, but the thing with Mariko was, as you say, part of it, yes, is we know from episode 4 now that she's obviously gone through a lot of tragedy, and perhaps now that we know in hindsight that whatever happened to her, we still don't know. It felt like she was placed with Buntaro. This was a match of convenience, not of love. It didn't feel like those two were in love, was it? It wasn't. There was no. But then again, as you say, in a culture whereby the layers are all in front,
yeah,
how do we know?
exactly. You don't exactly know the sensitivity of their relationship, as you know, the brave samurai had to put on a face, and you know, her being the wife of that samurai, she also had to, you know, be or pretend to be brave. So we don't really know their relationship dynamics. But what I was saying was, when you see him kill or not be killed, whatever it is, we'll find out soon enough. But the layers that we were talking about, because now Mariko has to also put on that layer of that brave, you know, wife of a samurai, and then she has all those other, you know, feelings. Um, that are swirling around, and then there's Blackthorn in the mix as well. So
this dirty, shaggy dog who likes to talk about, if we were in my country, we would go and see the Queen and walk along the Thames, and I tell you, it's quite beautiful at night. And also, it does stink of shit. It does stink remarkably of shit. But I love the okay, it could be. I think the reason why people aren't saying that they can see the beats in terms of the writers' room kind of stuff. Okay, well, here in order to get these characters together and things and so on. It feels like it is doing what it needs to do, but it's doing it in a way where I'm not calling it cliched, even though in many ways I think it is. The way it's being done, the way it's being played and put up there, I'm still reading a little bit. Can we get on to the? I think it does need to be said that one of my favorite characters is Kashigi. Oh, I'm going to ruin his second name. Yabushige. Yabashige.
Yeah, yeah, the
I
the
love.
asshole, the biggest asshole from the first episode. I mean, yeah,
I mean,
you
scoundrel.
don't forget you don't forget a person like Yabushige.
No, I mean there are, again. I think in terms of interesting elements, that character is. He's very funny. I think what I love is in all of these big grand stories, sometimes the best characters are the chaos agents, the ones which play all sides at all times and keep spinning, and they're doing that very well. But this episode 4, the Eightfold Fence, was a wonderful example in how they do slow down. They did slow down. John Blackthorne is effectively in his prison, and having a wonderful interaction regarding guns, which we'll get onto. But then we have this slow down, and we actually get to see some of the minor characters come to the fore a bit more in terms of the Yabashige's
Umo, right?
exactly, yeah,
Nephew,
the
yeah,
second in command, and then
yeah.
you see that kind of almost
Son of
tragic clash
Toranaga,
with the
yeah.
son of Toranaga, both hot-headed and eager to prove themselves. But as you said in your wonderful tweet to me, when when Tanaga gets back, uh, it's like that gif from Community when Troy comes back with the pizza and the whole place is on fire. I love that we've got that intrigue now. We've got these minor characters
Absolutely,
making mistakes, and again, one hell of a fucking ending. Like the endings have all been excellent so far. Like I
absolutely.
wouldn't have. They seem to have really put some money into these death scenes because the as you said, the horror element in it, the boiling of the man, was done kind of showing it off screen, showing time of day passing, and then
Yeah,
they hit us with one close up with his skin peeling away. There haven't been that many moments. Everything has been quite slick in terms of the hijacks or the forest battles. But my God, they end on a bombshell, a literal bombshell of episode
yeah,
4. The amount of fake intestines that came out of,
and
I
limbs.
believe, yeah, it really goes there. It really goes
Yeah,
there.
I mean, think about it. In all the movies and TV shows that we have seen, I don't think we ever had a scene where a cannon is literally being shot at people and there are limbs literally flying out everywhere. I mean, we have seen shit, but this has been one of those like holy shit moment, and this is why like I love the fact that it's the transitions in tones that this one
Mm.
has. Like, they start off with that whole that speech that you made about Thames and how it was, and then it goes into Mariko and
All
Blackthorn
romance. Yeah.
doing what they do. And right after, as he's coming out of that, and you see basically shit hitting the fan. I mean,
That's a great expression. Yeah.
the the tone of this entire show, like the thing that I was talking about, um, while they're preparing those to meet them the Ishido guys. Um,
Mm.
there's this lady who's just serving. First, she's like, "Oh, I should have bought better sake because Toranaga is coming over." But once once he realizes that, oh, he's actually not joining,
Oh,
then
he's
I think she
bounced.
goes, "Oh, should have bought the cheap stuff."
Dude, that was me. That was me when I was a teenager. I was that guy who would like get like everyone to the party and like, right, we're here, we're going here now. And then 2 seconds later, I'm in a taxi, I'm going somewhere else. Like he bounced, and as is his right. You mentioned it. The way Toranaga plays chess, he plays all the right notes, and showing both sides of his skill set as a strategist, be able to do the big bombastic chant and interaction with the soldiers when he lands at the bay, the way he conducts them with the fan as they go up and down. That is some classic Japanese acting of a certain time. And then instantly, bang, he's gone. And the joke is, and it shows both sides. Like he's the thinker. He's the thinker. Is
Also,
there anything else?
if
Any
you
other
remember
highlight?
that, if you remember that scene where Toranaga wants to learn about the how to dive,
Yes.
right?
Now, how
And
did you read that?
okay, the way I saw it was Toranaga being sort of a strategist. First, he wants to actually like really learn how he is doing it. Once he learns
Mhm,
how he does it, at the same time, he wants to be the man and he wants to challenge him, to a swimming bout right
mhm.
after Blackthorn has been through that shit. I don't know how many times.
40,
So
50
him
fucking
trying to
times.
get that upper edge, and again,
Mhm.
that was one of another things that was kind of like um, right after shit hit the fan, it was more of like a little playful tone to the show. You
Exactly.
know,
I love it, and dude, you nailed it there with that. I didn't see that at first. When I saw it, I saw only through the lens of Toranaga being a good student, seeing the form, seeing the examples, seeing it. And then, as you say, then he offers him for a race, and I didn't see it the first time round. Second time round, he's just worn him out. Of course, but then the even cleverer thing he says to him is he makes sure he says through Mariko, "Don't let him win." He really hates that, but he
right?
doesn't need to let him win. It's oh, oh. Any other highlights? I've got bombshell ending that we've done. We've done a bit of bow chicka bow wow
Okay,
time.
I just
The
want to
cannon.
mention one thing because, um, okay, the opening credits, right, of the
Mm.
show. Have you like seen it like without, like not while you're trying to microwave your popcorn and then you let it go through?
Actually,
Ha-
no, I haven't.
Have you?
Perhaps not. Perhaps not. It,
Okay.
it felt a bit. It's very Game of Thronesy slash Westworldy, isn't it? It's kind of a template of intros.
I
No,
honestly thought it
I
was
bet you're about to reveal something that I've missed.
no, I see the vibe, the feel that it sets, right? That
Mm,
freaking thing where you see that it's like freaking God making a Zen garden for the show.
mm,
It was,
yes.
yeah, it goes all in those streaks and everything, and everything is like so smoothly done. And on top of that, I just love the score, the opening
Mm,
score. It's again, it just sets up the tone for the entire show because it has that intensity, and it's um, I don't know. I mean, uh, there was my friend. I think he was talking about when Last of Us came out and how great the opening score of that was. But I was
mm,
like, I don't know. So I think it's more about how you something that makes you feel. And this one, I thought,
yeah.
is quite amazing. Those guys, I
They are.
forget
They
their
are
names.
impressive.
They're
The guys who did the music.
yeah.
I think. I
There's
think
three of
the.
them. I'm forgetting their names.
We shall find them, and we shall find them. I think it gets underrated because it's obviously the thing that most people skip. So, The thing is,
Exactly.
with a good intro to a show, is when you don't skip the intro. And as you said, a lot of the thing with the show, a lot of the success is down to establishing that vibe, that feel from the show, and a lot of that doesn't come from the visuals. It comes from the soundscape.
And I want to recommend to people that, hey, if you're gonna watch the show, watch it along with the opening credits, because it's going to really set up the tone for the show. It's gonna freaking psych you up about what you're gonna see. So definitely, I think opening credits is a must. Like I said, it is so soothing to watch, and at the same time, you're about to get into some shit. I just love it.
Yes. Yeah, yep. You could be minutes away from an epic boat race between two crazy Europeans. There's so much, I think, to
How
look
good
forward
was the
to.
banter on that scene, dude? How good was the banter on them while they're racing their ships between
What?
Blackthorn and the
Oh,
the Portuguese guy?
will you just either fucking kill me or just let me through? God damn your eyes! God damn your eyes! I am obsessed with. I've seen him in other things. I have never heard that voice apart from coming out of Tom Hardy. And I'm going to stop now because I think it's a joke that we've all done, and it's absolutely true. Everyone hears his voice and thinks of Tom Hardy. But his performance is he's doing so much heavy lifting, as you say, on different planes, on the comedic, on the horror, on the intrigue, and again him being our window into this world. His performance so far is incredible. His interaction with Rodriguez,
Yep.
Nestor Carbonell, it's just brilliant. Like, everything. Oh, fuck your mother! It's as you say, those beats that are really important. I love it.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean
we're gonna
the
end there.
disdain that they have
Sorry, go on.
for each other. No, I was saying,
Yes.
like the Portuguese versus English, the disdain that they have for each other. It's it's playful, yet you can see that the countries have had some history.
Yeah. Oh, well, just more than a few. There's a little bit of bad blood on. There was quite a lot of bad blood under that bridge. I'm going to finish it there. Now, would you be up for coming back and doing? I think maybe we'll go, unless there's unless there's big in 5. I think I'll another 2 weeks and we'll do 5 and 6. Be my
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
samurai.
This was fun, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for had. To everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week. There'll be other stuff coming out on the channel, so keep watching. I am at Skadooosch or at Skadooosch Movie Ranking. Fahad, is there anything you've got coming out at the moment, or anything you'd like to recommend?
No, I will also be on that movie ranking, and follow me on Twitter at allaboutfkk.
Amazing. All right. In the words of the big blue dude, then, to everyone, good night. Thank you so much. Bye bye now. Bye 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 bye.